It is September. Hello, everybody. It is September the 13th, and you have tuned in to another wonderful Wednesday. Aren't you happy that it's Wednesday? I am. And guess what? You're watching the power of transformation. So we're so glad you have joined us. Every week we try to bring you a topic of discussion that is going to really help you in so many different ways. And we don't want you to keep it to yourself. We want you to call your friends. We want you to text them. I say this every week, don't I? We want you to tag them, and we want you to tell them that the Power of Transformation show is live. And Dr. Paula would love to see each one of you join us for a discussion tonight. Because every Wednesday, we bring you something really important for the body of Christ and for everybody else. Tonight's no different. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to tag and send your texts and make your phone calls. And I'm going to do the same. I am. And we're going to be right back. See you soon. Hello, my friends. I'm busy tagging and texting just like I told you. And I'm going to tell you, it's really important that we have people tonight watch us. Because you know what we're going to discuss? You want to know? We're going to discuss finances. And finances is a topic of interest for us all. And I don't know about you, but there are some people who are really good at finances. And then there are some people who maybe struggle. But it's a conversation that we all at some point need to have because we want to sit down and we want to make sure that our finances are in order. And guess what? We have someone who has a passion, a passion for financial planning. And she's going to share some really important tips and tricks with us tonight. She's going to share her heart. She's going to talk to us about how to become better stewards so that we can have a wonderful financial present as well as an amazing financial future. Okay? And my special guest tonight, her name is Noelle Ramos, and she says that her passion is financial planning. Now, as I said, everybody doesn't have a passion, but I've talked to her. She has some pretty good information to share with us. So we're going to just welcome her into the show. Come on in. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, Noelle.
Dr. Paula.
How are you?
Oh, fantastic. Thank you.
When I hear someone talk about their passion, when they start talking about it, their face will light up and their eyes, will get all glassy. So, I see the same thing. You're already smiling. Because you know that this is something that's near and dear and to your heart and important. When you say it's important to us?
Oh, 100% I agree.
100%. So, I'm going to ask the question, why? Why is financial planning your passion? And tell us a little bit about how you really got into it.
Financial planning was not always my passion. I grew up, in a trailer park on, government assistance. We grew up very poorly. And so what I knew is to put your money in the bank, work very hard, and you'll be fine. It's not until, I wanted to say I didn't really have any passion in life. I got my first job at a retail store and kind of just stayed there.
Mm.
And then till finally one day, those of you who've worked retail, you get burned out. And I stayed there for 18 years because I had no passion. I didn't know what else to do because that's all I was taught. You just work hard. I didn't have no drive to go to college or do any of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so finally, I just got tired of and burnout. And I quit with no plan in place. It was terrible. I was just so, and so I think financial planning found me. There was a reason why it found me, because once I found it, I completely immersed myself in it. And I've tried to learn as much as I can. And I just want to go and share it with anybody who will listen and help them, because I know it's going to change your life. Because after I've learned it, I'm like, it's completely given me a whole new thought process of how I think. And it's changed my thought process of how I'm going to see myself in the future, in my retirement. I'm actually looking forward to it. I'm like, I'm going to be set because I know what I'm doing now.
Wow. And just the brightness in your face, that is really important when you're talking about money, because
Mhm.
there are some people who are not very happy when they bring up the topic of money.
No, not at all.
And I remember in my personal finance class, in one of my collegiate classes, the professor said that money is a tool to be used, properly used, in the right way. And it was a long time before I understood properly used in the right way. Now, how am I supposed to do it? How am I supposed to do that? And a lot of people have those questions. That's why you're here, to help us. Maybe there's some things that we're doing well, but maybe there's some things we can do, improve upon. And tonight is your night to help us out.
Yeah, Dr. Paula, you mentioned, some people don't want to, they're not happy. And that's because they don't know, they don't want to confront. It's like a demon. They don't want to confront their demons. People don't want to know what their finances are because they're too scared. They don't want to see the reality of what's going on in their finances. And so at this point, your money is taking over you, and you're not taking control of your money and telling it what to do. And that's a huge problem, because it's so easy now to just swipe that card, right? You don't
Oh,
know
yeah.
where it's going. Swipe for lunch. Oh, I swipe at the laptop. Let me go on Amazon real quick and order that. It's so easy to have everything delivered to you. And then at the end of the month, where did it all go?
Right, right, right.
So I'd like to discuss a budget. Is it okay if I bring up a budget sheet?
Honey, it is your show. You bring up a budget sheet. I'm going to say one thing while you're bringing it up. And I want you to just to kind of tuck this back as a conversation point. There are some of us who are emotional spenders.
Mm.
And I know you're going to talk to us. So this budget's going to help us. I have found that there have been times when I reflect on the times when I'm spending the most on things I really don't need. It's a direct correlation to my emotions.
Mm.
So you're going to help me with this budgeting.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I get that way too, where I feel much better after I've done a little shopping spree. And then, two, three, four, $500 later, I'm like, all right, well, that was a 5 minute make me feel good.
Yeah, that's
Now
done.
what?
Now what?
Now what?
So
So
budgeting. Let's talk budgets.
yes. So we have a monthly budget. And so, like I mentioned before, you want to tell your money what to do,
Mhm.
because at some point, you're going to either, like you said, some people are really good at it and some people are really good or bad at it. So you can find one online. It doesn't matter. You can always email me and I can give you one. But you see, it's down from your charity. It's got all your utilities. It's got miscellaneous. It's food, gas. It has car payment and credit cards. It's got everything under the sun with your budget sheet. And so you want to make sure you are having that zero base balance at the end. And so what that means is, after you have tallied up what your budget is going to do, what your budget is, you've put all your groceries, everything roughly, you're not going to be exact. You
Mhm.
put you add it all together, and then you want to see how much money you have brought in from your job. And at that point, then you're minusing the difference. And if you have a difference, that's great. That's really good news. And I've had some clients where they were like, they did not even realize how much money they were spending each month. And they are surprised to see it because they didn't want to face reality. And so I've had some have been in a negative balance. And now they're no longer questioning, why do I have so much credit card debt? Because now they know.
Right. Right.
So if you have money left over, first of all, let's pat yourself on the back. And
Mhm.
depending on where you are at, either you put it, if you have a lot of credit cards, you put some of that extra money going towards your credit cards and start whittling down your credit. You want to get rid of those because those are your enemies, because credit cards, they bank on you not paying your credit cards on time, or they bank on you not, 12 months interest free. They know a majority of the people, they're not going to get it done in 12 months. And guess what? That 24% interest rates, they hit you automatically. Now something you've paid 500 for, you're paying 1,000 for. You're paying double because you didn't pay it off on time. So you want to put that extra money towards any kind of credit cards that you may have, or you might need to put it towards your savings and have that emergency fund. It's very important you have an emergency fund, which we'll discuss more later, or put towards your retirement account, or put towards a vacation. This can't all just be no fun. You want to have a vacation. When was the last time, you go on vacation and be like, oh, well, I'm not going to put anything on a credit card, because you've planned for it ahead of time. You have that extra money, and now your vacation, you have zero payments for it later because you've paid for your vacation ahead of time. Yes. Wouldn't that be great?
Oh yes. Now tell me. I have a question. Do you mind if I ask a question?
Oh yes.
What are the stumbling blocks for folks who do not want to use a budget? Because there are people who will say things like, "I don't need a budget." So what's going to happen to those folks?
Maybe they don't. Maybe they make enough and they're well off and they don't need a budget. And some people don't. But for those who find themselves where they're living that paycheck to paycheck, they need to come to a hard reality check. That's all there is to it. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, you need to reevaluate the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. You need to look at yourself in the mirror, like, what am I doing and what do I need to do differently? Because I'm tired of living paycheck to paycheck. I have more than what I can chew.
And you can help us with really planning to, just deal with those extra expenditures. I see you saying to Paula, after I've developed my budget with you, this is an area we want to make sure we pay down in X amount of, months so that you could be free next year to plan your budget.
Repeat the last one, I'm sorry.
So that you can be free next year to plan that great vacation. You will show me how to pay down the credit cards, how much to pay them down, and those.
Yes. So I'm always here for consultations as well. And so what I do normally is, depending on what stage of life you're in, how much debt how much debt you're in, we go through all of that. And, I have a program where you do a long list and it shows me how long it's going to take to pay off all your credit cards. And if you pay just an extra $50 a month, how much shorter of time it's going to take you to pay off those credit cards. And it's so great because it does it by your interest rate. And we do the debt snowball, where you pay your smallest to your largest, because, credit debt is an emotional attachment. And so if you're like, well, I'm going to try and pay off the highest interest rate, it's not always going to work for some people. You want to pay off the lowest. And then after you've paid off that lowest debt, you want to continue to pay what you're paying for that lowest one and attach it to the next credit card. And then once you're paying off that credit card, you use that same amount and you attach it to the next credit card, because it's all an emotional game. And you get that momentum, the debt snowball momentum. And once you're paying off one, you see results and your endorphins kick in and you're happy. And you're like, I got one paid off. All right, let's pay off the next one.
Right.
And you're still spending the same amount of money, but you're doing it differently, and it's becoming more emotional and it's becoming more happier because you're seeing actual results where you're just paying a little bit here and there. You want to put full force into the smallest one where you can pay that extra amount so you can get rid of it, and you can see results.
Right. I love that. I love that emotional conversation. And I love the fact that you're helping us deal with the emotional side and our spending and how to do it. As Christians, I've heard, a lot of conversations of, with people who just can't get a handle on their money. And I love the fact that we're talking about it openly. We're having seminars in the churches. We're having people like you come in, because everything that I've been involved in at some point is going to have some financial requirements.
Yes. I'm going to take off that budget sheet. I think they might be tired of looking at that.
Right. But it's important, and I think we all need to be reminded that if we start today, then our tomorrow will be better because of that one topic that everybody talks about every single day. At some point, we talk about money.
Yes. I mean, you gotta, at some point, you gotta be sick and tired of being sick and tired and draw that sand in the, that line in the sand and say, enough is enough. And I'm going to change what I'm doing because it's just not working. And, we can always say, money is the root of all evil. Well, like I mentioned earlier, I've been poor and I'm, at a point where I'm comfortable. And I can tell you being comfortable is a lot less stressful than worrying about where I'm going to get my next meal or if I'm going to pay my car payment on time. And Proverbs 13:22, leave an inheritance for your children's children, is something that we strive to do because we want to make sure we change your family tree. I want to be there to help you change your legacy and let you see there's something that you can do differently. You don't have to worry about, when you get older, who's going to take care of you. You don't have to be that burden to your children, because what you're seeing now is, a lot of the senior citizens who didn't plan, like, my grandfather and my my, family, we didn't know this stuff. We didn't think about it. And so my grandfather, I'm not saying he was a burden, but you know, he didn't think about it. And so my mom for the last 5, 6 years was the one taking care of him even after he had his stroke, having to feed him, having to bathe him and clothe him. And it's because he couldn't afford nurses. We didn't plan, he didn't plan, we didn't plan. And so that's where I want to come in and change that thought process. And like, you can live off of something other than Social Security. There's
Right.
hope.
Right. And it's a wonderful opportunity to say I've gotten a handle on things today, and that I'm planning for a better future.
Right.
And learning from others is a really big deal. So I love the conversation, and we don't need to be afraid to have the conversation. We really need to be open to saying, what's my financial health? Where am I, and where do I want to be in a year? What do I want to be in 5 years? I think it's important for us to talk to you and let you help us get there.
Hmm. It's the same thing where, I don't feel well. So what do? You go and visit a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if your financial health is not in check, what do? You go speak to somebody who's more knowledgeable about it. I'm not going to go to a doctor and say, well, I think you're wrong. I think this is my diagnosis. I'm going to seek somebody who's a coach who's going to know a little bit more about the subject and say, can you help me with this? Because what I'm doing, I think I'm on the right track. And sometimes I tell people, you're on the right track. You don't need me at all. Keep it going. And that's all we need is sometimes we just need reassurance.
Right.
You're good. Let's keep it going. I'm happy. I sat down with a 20-year-old the other day and I was so happy. She's like, what do I need to do? And I was like, you keep this going. She's funding her retirement. I'm like, you will be fine.
So let's talk about the 20-year-olds and the 30-year-olds, and what is she doing that's fine? I'm not asking you to share details, but what kind of mindset does she have that will actually help others in that age group?
So and it was sisters because I sat down with one sister and then the sister referred me to her younger sister. And so what they have decided to do is start funding their IRAs now. They know they're at jobs. Their current jobs do not have like 401k. So current job, if your job doesn't have 401k, there's things outside that of an employer you can do. You can open up your own IRA where you can start contributing into it and start saving towards your retirement. And so that's what the both of them are doing, is they're making sure that they're fully funding a Roth IRA and going and making sure they're protecting their income. So, and that's something they can have a monthly auto draft where they know they're going to get it and it's automatically going to come out. And we've sat down, we've done their budget, and they know to expect it in their budget and they've accounted for it.
That's good. That's good. So a person starting at the age of 20, I was not that fortunate. Or even 30, I was not that fortunate. But think of how far along they're going to be, you know, in a few years because they have that foundation. We have to talk about it this way. You are building a foundation. You are building something that you're going to need in the future by starting to do things today. I love it. I
Yes.
really love it.
And I'm glad you brought up foundation because I actually have one more picture I'd like to bring up, and it's the financial house, and it's starting your foundation from the ground up.
Yes.
So I'd like to bring that up. And so, you want to build your financial house and make sure, you've heard the saying, make sure your house is in order. Well,
Hmm.
it means more than one thing. And so when you're starting your financial house and you want to start from the ground up. And so there's step zero, what we just discussed, having that written budget. That is so crucial. We can give you a beautiful retirement plan. And if you're not making sure you're budgeting for it,
Hmm.
it's out the window. It's pointless.
Wow.
And then we want to make sure we have income protection, and that's different. That's just life insurance. Once again, you have to make sure to be careful and get the right amount, get the correct one, and make sure you are covering yourself with some kind of protection. So many people don't want to think about that because they call it the death insurance. Let's be real, right? They think it's morbid, and so if you're family, if you're a husband or a wife and you have children and you're the breadwinner, what happens if something happens to you and you didn't think life insurance was important enough? Don't you think a 250,000 or a 500,000 policy would make all the world of difference if you had it in place and something happened to you?
Right.
And so I think a lot of people I think we think we're invincible. We're like, no, nothing's going to happen.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to happen. And, a friend of mine, he was in his mid 30s and something happened, but his family was taken care of.
Right. And I love it because you have it as a part of the foundation of your financial house. And when I have never thought about it being the foundation of my financial house, but it makes sense.
It does. It also helps with women because a lot of the times, women, if they're a stay at home mom, either they have to rush to put their child in daycare and hurry up and get a job, move in with maybe their parents, or even have to hurry and find a new husband to help take care of her and her kids. So, wouldn't it be nice to make sure that your wife has that time to grieve you and doesn't have to stress and worry about what am I going to do next?
Right. 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 And become that desperate. So I love that. I love that part of the foundation. What else is a part of our foundation? I love it.
Having a will and or living trust in place, making sure you have that because if not, your money can get tied up, and once again, now your family is struggling, and But one of the things, if you don't have one, especially for younger people, the one thing I recommend them to have is most young people have a checking account. Have they checked to see if they have a beneficiary in place? That's the minimum I'm asking the young people. Put at least a beneficiary on your checking account. And a lot of people don't know that you can do that. And it's
So
easy as going online.
what does that mean? Well, how do you do that?
Well, I know, with my bank, all I actually did was I went online and added a beneficiary. So if something happens to me, my money's not going to be held up in probate. It's going to go straight to that beneficiary.
Very good.
That's the minimum. If you don't want to do a living will or trust, it's the minimum we ask you to do.
Very good. Very good.
And so next one would be step one, having $1,000 emergency fund. If something small happens, something breaks in your car, something you got to buy something, that $1,000 emergency fund is going to be there, and you don't have to put it on a credit card. So we want to make sure you have that step one taken care of. And then step two would be paying off all non-mortgage debt, paying off those credit cards because it's crucial as well. And once you have paid off all your credit cards, we're going to go to step three and make sure you have 3 to 6 months of emergency savings. So if you were to get laid off or something was to happen, you're not, once again, forced in a position where you have to take whatever job comes around because you're living paycheck to paycheck. And you're like, I got to keep my kids fed. I got to make sure the lights stay on. You have some breathing room. So you have that 3 to 6 months of living where you're like, okay, all right, I'm fine. Let's look for another job that I might like.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then so step four is planning for your retirement, putting at least 15% into your retirement. And if your employer has an employee match, take it. Take advantage of that free money, please. Too many companies are kind of going away from it. So if your company still does it, take full advantage because you can't say it free as me, right?
That's right. That's right. That's right. You're worth it.
And if your company does not, that's when we suggest you're opening up an IRA outside of your employer. And then step 5 would be if you have children, let's start looking into college savings for them. They may want to, I mean, I think most kids now are just going to be TikTokers, right? We were talking about that, Dr. Paula. You may not have to pay for college.
Right. You become a millionaire overnight.
Right. But if by chance you want your kids to go to college, let's start saving for that at a young age. And just let's have it there just in case. Worst case scenario, you give it to them for a down payment for a house. There you go.
Or, a wedding, my automobile. I mean, there's just so many things that you could do with it. Yes.
Yes, but at least you know you were ready for your child. That's the least we can do. And then step 6 is start to try and pay off that mortgage. I think a lot of people think they're going to be paying for their mortgage for the rest of their lives. I think we've got that built in our mentality. I mean, that's how it's like, oh, I'm always going to have a mortgage for 30 years. Who isn't going to have a mortgage? But you've already paid off all that debt. Now you have extra money. You have extra room. So now you can start throwing extra money towards that mortgage and getting it paid off. Think about how much of a stress relief would have. No credit, no debt, and no mortgage. Whew.
That's kind of cool.
Isn't it?
And everything is in good shape,
Everything's in shape. Then you really don't have to worry like, oh, I don't need the. Then you don't need the budget sheet no more. You're like, I'm good. I'm going on to Italy. I'm going wherever. And then step 7 is build wealth and give like no one has before.
Yes. The giving part is always a part of, the Christian experience for me, because the Bible talks about, a cheerful giver. And I'm a witness that you can actually rebuild your life. I'm just a witness. And a big part of it for me is tithing and giving and doing and just being a lot more fiscally sound and less emotionally driven. I'm not going to sit here and tell you how many pairs of shoes I have.
Girl, I'm not going to tell you how many I got either.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I'm on right now, I can no longer buy any more shoes because I have enough. Because what I realize is that there are certain things that will happen. I'll buy shoes. And so someone made a comment, are you going to be able to eat those shoes? I was like, good point. That's a good point. So let's pull back a little bit and just think about the emotionally driven money person, a spender.
Right. And you can also put another column in your budget, emotional spending. There's a miscellaneous section in budgeting. And if you know you're going to do that, then put it in your budget. I'm not saying you can't, you can make the budget whatever you want. Just plan for it.
Plan for it. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. However, sometimes, we don't necessarily, don't necessarily need any more shoes. So I'm content. And I think that when a person is content with their planning, I'm going to put my money here, I'm going to pay this weekly, it removes some of the stress. And then you're able to kind of get things done. It's when I'm not content that my money seems to be all over the place. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, when you're not content and you start, that's when I think whenever you're not content or you're not happy or you might be feeling a little low, I think that's when everything just goes out the window and you get that I don't care mentality. I don't care if I go into debt. I don't care if, the lights turn off. And that's when you start getting yourself in trouble. And that's where I start seeing, when the clients come to me, and I've seen it where they have 10 and 12 credit cards. They have Walmart, they have JCPenney, they have Sears and Kohl's and all of them. And at that point, I'm hoping I can reach you. And hopefully you're humble enough to hear me to tell you, you have to make changes. And I've had some people where they just didn't want to make any changes, where I've drastically advised them, you're in a huge 4 or 5 bedroom house. Do you really need this house? You're over 100,000 in debt. You need it. And There's just, no, I need this. Okay. Well, then I just can't help you. Because
Right.
if you don't want to make any changes, then there's pointless to sit down with somebody because you're just going to be wasting your time and theirs.
Right. And you don't want to force anyone.
No.
It's just like everything else. Even with Christianity, when we talk about Jesus, we're not forcing you, but we're trying to help you, because you deserve that. You
Hmm.
deserve. The Bible says that God gives us the power to create wealth. And what I love is after we create it, we also now have people to help us keep it.
Hmm.
We spend a lot of time making this money. I work really hard in a week's time. And I don't want it to just fly out the window, in a couple of days. I want to be able to plan. I want to be able to relax a little bit, and I want to know that things are taken care of. So I want a person like you always asking me, are you on budget?
Right. And I have somewhere I sit down with you. I sit down with, I'll have a quarterly visit. Okay, let's look at your budget. How did you do? I'm not here to judge anyone. I'm
Right.
here to guide you because trust me, I've done the mistakes. I've borrowed from a 401k when I wasn't supposed to and hit all the penalties. I've gotten into credit or debt, I've gotten myself out. And when I speak to you, I speak to you a place of because I've been there and because I've learned from it,
Right.
and I continue to learn and grow. So it's not like I can sit here and preach and say, "Well, I'm perfect," because
Right.
that's not
Right.
going to happen.
And I think I love that your story was really real to me, and that it resonates with so many people because it is a sensitive subject. Let's just be real. This
Hmm.
is a sensitive subject, and if you have someone who understands you, then you'll open up and say, I have a really hard time because maybe when I was growing up, there wasn't enough of this and there wasn't enough of that, and that's why I have, and I that's why my habits are the way they are. But help me with that so that I can break that bad habit and start something new.
When I think about it, I get angry. I get
Really?
angry because they don't teach these things in school. They don't
Mhm.
teach you how to grow your money. They don't teach you how to make sure you're staying out of debt. And what most colleges doing, they're showing you how to get into debt because it's thousands of dollars to go into a college, and they're like, yeah, sure, we'll give you money here, sure, do a loan, yeah, sure. And then when you're out of college, you're encompassed in debt. And so I get so mad because they don't teach you that stuff in school. And I know whenever I was growing up and I was living off of government, you remember the colored coupon money,
Yeah.
food stamps.
Yeah.
My brother would always have to go to the store and pay because I was embarrassed. I was a young kid. I was embarrassed. I didn't want to have to pay with
Mhm.
colored Monopoly money. And
Right.
so I think of that and I'm like, I don't want to be back there.
Right.
I don't. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But now that I know, it's just like, I don't want to have to feel that way where I'm embarrassed to pay for something because I can't pay for it on my own.
Right. I'm really grateful for people who have to be in a certain place and it's there for them, because I believe that some people should be there for us, or the government should be there for us at
Oh, I
times.
agree.
And I use the word springboard because it is a springboard. But to be able to get to a point where you now can take care of yourself
Right.
is really a good feeling. I mean, it really is. It's like, okay, I have 24 hours in a day. Let me think. And I'm working 8, but I really need to be working 12, and now I have these goals and I'm thinking, and it's a healthier place to be rather than sitting around saying, oh my God, what am I going to do? Let's get with someone to help us get to that extra place, or to that better place, or so that I'm sleeping well at night. How about that? And
Yeah.
not being afraid to discuss it. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, no, no. I'm agreeing with you, And let me rephrase when, I was embarrassed to do the colored money, the monopoly money. I look back on it and I realized I was embarrassed as a child, but it was what my mother needed at that time.
Yes.
She needed the assistance and I was too young to realize, and because she was a single mother.
Right.
And so it's there for when you need it, but when you learn from it and you have to evolve and know, I reach, you want to make sure you are reaching your goal and set that goal for yourself. This is what I want to see myself doing. This is what I want to get at. This is where I want to be at. And I don't want to have to look back and, you know, this, I don't want to be in that situation anymore where I'm struggling and I want to live comfortable.
And there's nothing wrong with that being a goal. And there's nothing wrong with us understanding that we can get there. I think definitely from a child's perspective is going to be different from an adult perspective. But there, of course, but there are many adults who are still kind of scrambling,
Hmm.
repeating these rituals. I want you to say something to them tonight that's going to help them move forward. And what would that be?
To move forward, you have to get out. I think I've heard one of your guests because I've watched all of your shows. You got to get out of your own way and
Yes.
be willing to want to change. And uh, if it's not in you, I don't think there's anything I can say that'll help you. It's, you have to feel it, and it's gotta, is my message has to resonate with that special person who's looking for this message, where they say, okay, it's time for me to change. It's time to me for me to get my priorities where I need them to be and take control. Because this is what you're doing, is you're taking control of your money and letting it know you're not controlling me anymore. I'm going to tell you what to do. And I'm going to be confident enough to learn more about finances, because a lot of times we're too scared. If it's not a subject we're familiar with or comfortable with, we're going to shy away from it.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
And
that's
you
where
can't.
I'm here to empower you to learn
Mhm.
about it and slap it in the face. I'm like, I know what I'm doing, and you need to know what you're doing. And my passion is helping women, because a lot of times we let our husbands or our significant others, I'm like, okay, well, they're in control of the finances, and this might be a little bit more of an older generation, and they don't have an idea. I'm like, do you know how much your electric bill, do you know if you're saving for retirement? Oh no, that's all my husband. I'm here to sit down and tell you, you need to know, you need to know what's going on, because once he's gone, it's your responsibility.
Mhm. I think this generation is a little bit more,
Yeah.
in tune to that particular scenario because they want to know what's going on. And with the digital banking, there's a lot of things going
Oh yeah.
on now that wasn't going on when my grandmother was in the world, and she was great with money. When she passed, and I cleaned out, her home, and I was looking at what she made monthly, I just bawled, and I said to myself, but she never lived that way, because even with what she had, she knew what to do with it.
Yeah.
And it was such a powerful lesson. This tying into what you're saying, knowing what to do with what God has given you is a really big deal. It gives you peace of mind. She didn't complain.
No, you have to learn to be resourceful with what you have.
Hmm.
And my grandmother, my mother, they can make a whole meal stretch, and I don't know how they do it, but they can make a gourmet meal, of what's left over in the refrigerator, and it's great, and nobody complains. And
Hmm.
that's, do what you gotta do.
So when we come to you and we talk dollars and cents, are there times when you have to pull back and just say, listen, we need to get you ready emotionally for this journey?
Definitely. There's been times where I've had to have those tough conversations where, someone might be a little bit older and they're behind. And so I have to pretty much, uh, I don't think I apologize. I just, prepare them for the hard fact, you need to get it in gear, and because you're behind. And so we have to have those tough conversations, um, letting them know you're behind. You start a little behind, because that's what I'm here for, is because we're going to fix it. We just need to be a lot more aggressive than if you would have started when you were younger. And don't lose hope, because we can try and get you in a better position than where you were before.
Yes. I love what you just said. Don't lose hope because you have a plan. And that ties into really the transformational conversations that we've had with every show, where we're getting ourselves to a point where we're saying, I can change.
Mm-hmm.
And then my attitude about money can change. And then the next thing you know, I don't have to buy anything, and I can just, for a while, and I can be content and just watch my money do things in a positive manner. And I'm in control of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in control of it. I like that. I really like that. You're saying don't give up hope because there's an answer. Who doesn't want to know that? That even with your money, don't give up hope.
Yeah, because when we sit down together, I'm going to show you how it can grow differently than if you were to leave it in the bank.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And,
Yeah, I'm
and
gonna have to. I'm gonna have to have a little conversation with you about
for
that.
sure.
So you mean I shouldn't keep it hanging out around or whatever. I need to
Oh
do
man,
something
don't leave it
different.
under your mattress. Please don't. Tell me how it grows if it's under your mattress. I mean, I'm not saying it's not safe there, but if you get a fire, what's going on?
What's going on? Bye bye. I love the fact that even though it's a serious topic, we're laughing.
Hmm.
I remember God had a conversation with me. I had something happen, and He said, this is one thing that was important, and I just kept hearing Him say, you need to keep your word. Managing your money is keeping your word. If you say you're going to do it, you owe it to yourself to love yourself enough to keep that promise to you. And it would taught me something. Keep your word. So how can we get in contact with you? Every time I get on a really good topic, the time just flies. Because I have more questions. So
Yeah.
how can we get in contact with you?
Yeah. So definitely you can email me. I got my email at noel@capitalchoicesouth.com. That's a good place. If you want to have any budget sheets or if you want to learn more, have any questions, definitely just email me. I do not mind just helping somebody with random questions. I sit down and do free consultations all the time because, like you said, this is my passion. And so God's going to reward me in other ways. I don't always have to be rewarded monetarily. And then also we have my website at www.capitalchoicesouth.com. And so check it out. It's brand new. I like it. We did it.
Wow. So what are we going to find when we go to your website? What are we going to
Oh, you will find some of the tools that we discussed today and other stuff that we did not even get a chance to discuss. I mean, there's still a lot more we haven't discussed, and you get to educate yourself on your own with that website as well.
It's very good, very good. So to me, this is an ongoing conversation we need to have. So I would like to ask the same question to you that I asked for all of our guests. Would you come back and talk a little bit more about finances? Because I think it's important, Christmas is coming up and
Oh
we're in
yes.
that season where we're getting ready to spend money or not.
That's another hard conversation to have.
Spending money for Christmas. Yeah, we want people to have their Christmas presents, but we don't want to be burdened afterwards, do we?
For real. I agree. Yeah, definitely. I would love to come back. I don't
Great.
think you could keep me off.
Yeah, this sounds great because I really want to talk about that house. That house has got me fascinated. And I want to kind of break that down and talk about what do I do? What do I do? Because building that financial house, that's what's important. I love it. I love having conversations like this because it's heartfelt.
Hmm. I
It's
agree.
really
It was
heartfelt.
very fast paced today.
Yeah, very fast paced because the conversation is good for us. When something's good for us, time just flies by. So I'm really grateful for people like you who shared your story. Thank you for sharing your story. And thank you for sharing your passion. And, I could flip back a few minutes and say, the retail business, you left it, but you left it to find your passion.
Yes, I didn't know it at the time, but somebody else did.
But someone else did. And that's how God works. We think it's the end of something like, oh my God. And He's going, no, I'm actually opening a door for you. This is a door opening for you.
It really was because when I left, I was in tears because I had no idea. So scared. I'm not gonna lie. Being very transparent. Yeah, I was very scared.
That's okay. But look at you now. The Bible says, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, which is the basis for this broadcast. And somewhere in the change, you moved forward.
Yes.
And look at you increasing the value of folks' lives. People will sleep over money, they fight over money. Things are ended because of money. I mean, it's a big deal. And to have someone who loves God and then is there to give us the direction that we need, you're a godsend.
Thank you.
You're a godsend. So, what else can we learn? We only have just a few more minutes. And I want to maximize the moment. So thank you for the story. Thank you for giving us the contact information. For someone who's not 20 or 30, maybe they're 50, maybe they're 60. You have a plan for them as well, correct?
Absolutely. Like I mentioned earlier, it is never too late to start. It just got to be a little bit more aggressive.
Got to be a little bit more aggressive. Yeah. That aggressive part is what's kind of fascinating to us. I want to know what that means. Noelle, you've been great. You have anything else to say? I'm just excited. I'm really excited to have you back. I probably will have twice as many questions, but I definitely want to go back to that house and really just kind of do some role playing and really look at what we can do or capable of doing. Because even though the Bible says that the love of money is the root of all evil, it also says that money answers things. And we live in a transactional world, so we have to really have a good relationship with it. And you've gotten us thinking and you've started us off. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So Noelle, my goodness, we're here. We're down to the end. You took a deep breath.
We made it. I made it. Made it through all the questions.
You made it. You made it through the questions. You did a great job. I really appreciate you. And the bottom line is, if you really, this is another conversation about transformations. And I'm sure that there are people who can testify that they've had spend time with you and come back and say, with Noelle's help, we were able to get on track. So, like we say, Noelle, every week, that we have to trust the process, right?
Yes.
We have to trust your words. We have to trust your advice. We have to trust the process in order for the power of transformation to take its place in your life. It's no different in finances. We have to trust Noelle and her advice and the passion that she has so that we can actually be better money managers and be awesome stewards for God. That's all I have today. Noelle, thank you so much. We'll see you back soon.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Take care.